Morning everybody. Saturday, 1 week of the lockdown. Hope you're all coping really well. Hope you've established new routines. I hope you're beginning to accept. Acceptance is really important in this time. Acceptance of that we haven't got the same freedom, but we have freedom in our homes, we have freedom within our heart. So don't lose sight of that freedom that we can still access, even though we have this lockdown that we can't go out as much as we want to. For me, this is a really important time to come back to self, to come back to what I need, how I need to heal. So I've had a bit of a 2 and an 8 this week with my techie. I tried to record an hour long. I did a practice an hour long and it didn't load up. All of my stuff was my storage was full. So I had to do a little bit of housework keeping on my techie devices. So really important that we take this time to notice what we've neglected. What areas of our life have we neglected, and are we always seeking outside of ourselves? Are we always seeking outside to give ourselves entertainment and pleasure? So take this time to come in. Take this time to really think, how am I feeling? What is going on for me? I'm going to do you hopefully about a 20-minute moon flow just to get the body mobilized and stretched a little bit. And then I'm going to section it into little sections so that it doesn't take too long to upload and crash everything again. So I'll just do the moon flow, and then I'll do the finishing sequence with Shavasana as a separate video. And of course you can use that Shavasana on its own. You don't have to do a whole practice. You can just do snippets of it as you're feeling. So if you're feeling that you need to just come down and rest, then Shavasana, guided Shavasana, is a really helpful tool to have. So let's get into the moon flow. Let's take a little bit of time to ground and center into our mat. So seated, lying, standing, doesn't matter how you ground and center, but come into the breath. Spoke a little bit yesterday about tri-yogic breath while I was out on my dog walk. So if the tri-yogic breath works for you, we breathe, inhale, top, inhale, continue to the upper belly, inhale continues to the lower belly. Then the exhale we take from the lower belly to the upper belly to the top of the chest. Doing yourself just a few, half a dozen, 2 or 3, doesn't matter how many, just to get into your center, to focus the mind and come back into you. So we'll just take a few rounds of tri-yogic breath. Inhale, top of the collarbones, into the middle upper belly, into the lower belly. The exhale then comes from the lower belly to the upper belly and to the upper collarbones. Just repeat that a couple of times in your own breath time. And just setting intention this morning for anything that no longer serves us, anything that is feeling heavy, especially through the heart, through the emotions. All of this analysing in our head, feeling out of control, anxiety, getting rid of anything that no longer serves you. Breathe that out on the exhale so you can breathe new fresh air. It's like cleaning your energy, cleansing on the inside and expelling on the exhale. So getting rid of anything that no longer serves you, anything that feels heavy, that's making you feel a little bit off center and is distracting you from being into your heart. When we stop and breathe, we start to notice. We start to feel what's on the inside. We start to notice how the environment outside of us affects us. And then just let that sit for a moment. Just notice again. Come inside, come into your inner world. Notice how you are feeling. Find your natural rhythm, find your natural breath. And then let's just get some movement going. You can hold that breath longer. You take as long as you need to. Cosmic egg hug. So bringing it into just a little bit of a hug. Always important, give yourself a hug. Especially with this social distancing, you might not have as much physical contact at the moment. So give yourself a hug. Tell yourself, I love you, I support you. This is to you. This is to your inner aspects of you. Hello, Rupert. Thank you for joining us today. So let's take this into release roll. Now, release roll doesn't have to happen if you don't like it. So cat-cow into your seated position. Off you go, kitty cat. Just rocking forward and back over the sit bones, allowing just that little bit of movement over the sit bones, feeling this expansion and contraction, front of the body, back of the body. If you prefer, you take it into your release roll, just taking a few little rolls up and down. So you choose which suits you, whatever feels right for you. My back is a bit sticky from all the decorating, a little bit of contraction going on in my own body. This can be slow roll. Those of you who come to my regular classes are used to doing the slow roll, taking it one vertebra at a time. Let it breathe if it needs to. Find a sticky spot, hang out there, and breathe it out. Mine's into that mid-thoracic to lumbar curve, just as that takes that junction through. And then staying on the back, give yourself a little bit of a roll around here. This can go larger if you want to, just finding a little bit of space, side to side, feeling that across the back, across the midsection here, which often gets tight. Neck, roll the neck in the opposition, so rolling it side to side. And some of you might take this into a little bit of a lower range. If you want to just roll around, finding a little bit of mobility. This can go full circle if you want it to. Get a little confused, figure eight. So just move your body. It doesn't matter how we move our body, just find the movements. And pelvic tilts, just find a little bit of movement around the body again. Low back. Some of us do the little bottom drop just to release that tension. So we just lift and let it drop. Let the resonance rest. So we lift, drop, feel the wobble, feel the movement stop, and then repeat, lift and drop. Don't do it hard, don't hurt yourself, especially on the bony bits. Just find that little bit of movement. As much or as little as you need. This can go into a little twist position. Just breathe out into twist. Notice again how that feels for you. Taking the gaze point away from the knees, just allowing that breath. If it's a little tight, a little bit of movement. Mine feels a bit tight just in the hip flexor here. I can just feel a little bit of agginess, so I'm just going to move that around a little bit. Open and close it just a little bit. Just to find a little bit of space. Whenever we contract too much, we need to just allow freedom into these spaces. And then let it rest again. Notice where we're tense in the body. What can we let go of, especially on the underside here? Underside of the body, is it gripping to hold you up or pushing away from the floor? Let it yield down into the floor. Back to the breath. Changing sides. A little bit of roll side to side. You can do this wide knee. This is really nice to get into internal, external rotation a little bit. Just find that little bit of movement. And then the other side, just resting out, neck, little roll side to side. Again, hip flexors a little tight. Maybe you're walking or running a little bit more than normal, so your hip flexors are going to be perhaps a little tight and tense. So again, just find that little bit of movement if it needs to release out before we find the stillness, and then back to the breath. Just aiming for about 3 to 5 breaths depending on your breath length. No hard rule, just whatever feels right for you. Lovely. So just bring the arm, actually let's take a little harvest moon. Just swing the arm around a little bit. Just taking that around just to mobilize the shoulder. On the other side, just roll the knees over, circling a little bit, arm overhead. You can do both directions just to mobilize the shoulder. Inhale over the top, exhale comes down the way. And then just roll yourself into hands and knees. Bring yourself up. Mat tends to move around a little bit on the carpet. And just take yourself into some cat-cow movement. Mobilizing shoulders, pelvis, spine. This can rock forward and back a little bit. Just find that little bit of extra movement onto the diagonal. That'll take you into the lats, so you can take that into full stretch across here. Just moving around a little bit. Notice how your body is responding. This can go a little larger. You can circle this a little bit more, but be careful of your back. If your back is a little sticky, don't overdo it. You can sit back to child pose. Give a little breath, give a little rock. Just find whatever needs to happen. And come back to your breath, noticing the breath. So if you need more movement it is. More stillness, go for the stillness. And rock your head side to side, just getting into neck and shoulders. Back to breath. And we're going to take that over the top of the cat and just bring it down through cobra or sphinx a couple of times. If you don't want to go into cobra, commando crawl, just take it down a little lower. We can still move it through the back and still take it around, drop it down. Or floppy crop, once you're here, take a little bit of movement to floppy. Just moving out the body. Coming back to breath. And before you get too sleepy, cobra or sphinx, just to release that out. Yes and no with the head. Shoulders, make sure your shoulders. Baby cobra you can do, or the sphinx, whichever feels right for you. Little twisty positions. Again, if the back feels a little tight and sticky, this can be as high or as low as you want. Seal, halfway stage. If your back is a little sticky but you want to come up a little higher, take the arms just out on the 10 to 10 past position, just in front of the shoulder line. And just find that little bit of movement. Check your glutes aren't clenching. No squeezy butts. Good, lovely. Let's go. Hands under the shoulders, very gently push it back. Here you go, good. Child pose. You can go into tabletop if you need that little bit of release movement, if it's feeling a little sticky. Or go a little bit more dynamic to down dog. Just find, oh, that feels really nice for me. So find a little bit of space in the upside down. This can move again. You can move and ripple cat-cow in any of the shapes we do. Just to check you're not holding tight into anything. Pedaling out, just finding that little bit of fluidity. Ooh, feels a bit nice. Just to move the body in ways we don't use regular movement. Excuse me. Pedaling out, just rolling over the feet a little bit. And back to the breath. Right leg forward. Into crescent lunge. If your knees are a little sticky, just grab a cushion that you've got close by you. If you're in your living room, have cushions next to you. Just tuck it underneath your knee and find some circles. Just go round and round a little bit, finding that little bit of movement forward and back. Just opening and closing now into the hamstrings, into the quads. And when you're ready, bring it all the way up. Extended crescent lunge. Just find that little bit of space and breath. If you need a little bit of movement again, here can go windmill, side to side. Just a little bit of movement. Careful of dumping into the back hip flexor. So engage, lift away a little bit from the floor, through the pelvic floor muscles, through the low belly muscles. Shoulders. This can come into a little bit of a open chest stretch. And just breathe. that's too deep for you, hands can be at the prayer position, or you can stick to the regular crescent lunge. Just take it at your own pace, people. Care for the neck. And bring it forwards into hamstring stretch. Just find that little bit of length down to the hamstring. Circle the foot out, get into the ankle. Release out the ankle a little bit, just roll around the back of the heel. And try to lift your sit bones away from you. This can go forward and back. Now we can choose flexion. This is going to take you right into the hamstring along here, might feel at the back of the knee. Ball the foot down is going to stretch you down the front of the shin. So if you do a lot of running, then that might be beneficial. A lot of walking, back to the breath. Don't have to fold forward a long way to feel the stretch if you lift your sit bones back. Find the breath again. Again, just 2, 3, 4, 5 breaths, doesn't matter how many you do. Take a little extension. Opposite elbow into the knee and find a twist position just to allow a little bit of twisting through the low back. Hands can be in prayer position. You can take this into an unsupported twist. Arms can extend back, or you can just rest the hands. Whatever's comfortable for you, just find that twist. You can either have the elbow low, which will take you deeper into the low belly, or you can have the elbow high, which will take you across the chest a little bit more, the back of the body a bit more. Keeping the chest open, back to the breath. Checking in for any tension in the body. Release that through, just extend it up, drop the hands back, release the front leg, give it a little circle. If the hip flexors feel just a little bit overstretched, overcontracted, just give that a little bit of movement. You can stretch it back into the calf. You can take it into extended tabletop if you want to engage the core a little bit. Just find a little bit of movement that needs to happen. Child pose, rest it through the breath. Option 2, you can take that to tabletop, rolling it through, or take it to your down dog. Turn it around so that I'm not going to twist away from you. So we're going to bring the opposite leg forward and just find some movement around your hips. Give that a little wiggle, little circle round, forward and back a little bit. Just allowing a little bit of space before you ask for the deeper stretches. And then bringing it up. Crescent lunge, again, neck and shoulders, just check what's happening. Windmill, side to side, a little bit of mobility. Check your breath isn't being held. And just allow that to come open. Side of the body, and the back of the body, front of the body. So option to open the chest, just interlace the hands behind. Take a breath here. If that's too tight, hands can rest at the heart center, or you can just regular crescent lunge so it's not too deep in a back bend. Choose your option. And then just bring that all the way forward down into hamstring stretch. Circle out the foot. Oh, this one doesn't want to circle for me, it feels a bit sticky. Try not to circle through the toes, but get into the ankle, so feeling that roll around the back of the heel, and just that gentle pushing from the hip is going to roll that foot around for you. Ball the foot down, feel it down to the back, to the front here. Flexion here, feel it deeper through the back of those attachments into the hamstring. Lift the sit bones. So see if we can just take that through a little bit deeper through the sit bones. Feel the hamstrings stretch. And back to breath. Notice where the tension might be exhibiting itself. And just release it. Keep lifting the sit bones. Engage the core a little bit to support. And just bring that forward again, lift it up to release, and bring that into prayer position to your twist. And again, elbow can be low, unsupported position, or elbow high. Just find which is the twist that works for you, but keep the chest open and come back to breath. Notice if things are beginning to get a bit crampy, if you can release the muscle off. And just release that all the way back up. Hands back to the floor, just circle the front leg around a little bit, just find that little bit of space. Again, if you need to extend it through, just finding that little bit of movement back into the calf, just pushing down into the feet, into the calf, the heel. Or we can go a little bit of movement up, down, round and round, just taking that time to open through the spine. Sitting back to child pose, just give it some breath. Allow it time to breathe. And then start to move that when you're ready over the top of your cat into your cobra or your sphinx. Again, don't forget you can move this around a little bit. Things have gotten a little sticky. Cobra sphinx can circle and roll it around a little bit. And don't forget you can take the low version. You can commando crawl forward. It's absolutely fine. Little rocking around, twisting movements. Floppy croc. And we'll just take a breath technique, crocodile breath, while we're resting it down. Feet spread open onto the inside edge of the foot. Move the elbows away just a little bit from the shoulder line. Drop the head comfortably onto the forearms and just give yourself about half a dozen deep belly breaths right into the low back. And just let that rest. Move the elbows further away. Just rest the forehead down. You can leave the feet where they are or turn them onto the top of the foot. And just let that breath rest. Back to your neutral breath. And just draw the knees in. Give them a little floppy. Give them a little circle. Just open up the hips, the pelvis. Just finding those movements. Careful of your furniture, I've just kicked the sofa, so do be careful of the space you're working in. Be aware. And just bring the knees so that they're facing down to the floor. Extend one arm forward to claw finger. Take hold of your foot. Relax the hamstring. Push into the top of the hip here and lift the knee off. Lift the opposite leg off, extend the opposite arm, just taking half Bakasana, half locust. You can keep the fingers down for claw finger, gaze point just neutrally forward. Careful of your backs. Check into the knees, make sure the extended leg, knee is facing down. Find your breath. And just changing sides. Opposite hand forward to claw finger, take hold of the foot, push the hips into the floor, top of your hip bone, extend the leg, extend the arm if you want to, or stay down, doesn't have to be full unsupported. Find the breath again. And gently release, just give that a little flop again. Release that, any tension. And you might want to just come to a cobra or sphinx just to release that through. Open breath, open chest, shoulders down. If you prefer the seal, just take the hands a little bit further away. Or you've got the sphinx. Hands underneath the shoulders. Let's move it back into the rabbit, just to counterpose the back. A little bit of movement first if you need it, a little bit of cat-cowing. Always release out through the back. Sit yourself back. You can have the hands down beside the knees, or you can hold into the heels or even the back of the knees. Tuck the chin in, top of the head towards the floor. Lift the hips up and just breathe into the rabbit. Opening up the whole of the back space. And then let that just sit back to child pose. You can rest your forearms underneath your forehead. Just roll the head if it needs a little bit of release, and the neck and shoulders. And just breathe into your belly. And then just very slowly bring it all the way back up. Either swing your legs around or cross them through and roll over. Just give yourself another cosmic egg hug. Always come back when you move the body. Just check in before you rush into another posture. Just check what's happening. Does this need a little bit more space? If it does, a little bit of cat-cow through the roll or the release roll. Just finding that little bit of space. And then we'll come down onto the back. Rest it down on your back. Again, just find that little bit of movement. Rocking side to side. Little pelvic tilts, pelvic circles. Really nice to just roll out. And we'll just do a little bit of cat-cow bridge. Be careful you don't do the cat as you come up. You're not going to get very far. It'll jam up through the whole of the front of the body. So neutral spine, more cow position. So you want to roll up in the cow and roll back down through the cat. So just find a little bit of rippling through your back. Do that as much as you want. You can take the arms, inhale up, exhale back down. Or you can just leave the arms overhead. That roots you a little bit more into the shoulders. And then just hang out for a moment into your bridge. Find the breath. Just check the glutes aren't over squeezing. Push from the top of the hip. And breathe. If you want want to open the chest a little bit more, bring the hands underneath you, roll under the shoulders, and just extend through. Push from the heel, pushing, opening to the chest, and just let that breathe. Ventilate your fingers, just release those around and start to drop it down. Just give it a little bit of roll side to side. You keep the arms overhead, gives you a nice length along the front of the body here. Roll the head side to side. Just let that move out a little bit. And then bring the arms to T-shape. Just take yourself into a little twist. Make sure on the side of the body, not on the glute. Knees can be high, they can be low, they can be a little higher. Just release the neck out with a side to side movement and just rest in your twist position. Always come back to the breath. And then inhaling the knees back up, take it across to the other side. If you need a little bit of free movement first, that can go into a little bit of movement through the pelvis. Make sure on the side of the hip, release out the shoulders, lose that tension, and just breathe into it. A little bit of tension here for myself, so just releasing that off. Next inhale, just draw the knees back up. Again, just find that little bit of freedom. If your back's a little bit grumpy, give it a little bit of bottom dropping. You can do the floppy bridge, just finding that little bit of release. Oh, and then just bring it down. Allow now Shavasana. Just let the legs run along the mat. If your back is very sticky, draw the knees, keep the knees up. Drop the knees in towards each other to rest the back. Pull the legs long, palms up, and just allow minimum 5 minutes Shavasana. Just come into the breath. Check into the whole body, surrender down to the floor, releasing anything that no longer serves you. Just letting that rest. Just feeling those tingly sensations that we get once we stretch, once we've moved the body. Just feel those tingles. Let the tension release out of your body. Just tune in. Feel the floor supporting you. Just follow the breath. Allow it to go from the tip of the nose, the back of the nose, back of the throat, chest and belly. And then in reverse, belly, chest, back of the throat, back of the nose, and back out. And just keep that focus on your breath. Don't need to manipulate, just follow the breath pattern. And then just coming back, you can hold that Shavasana a lot longer. I'm just conscious of recording time. Just allow that. So if it stops, you carry on and you bring yourself back when you feel ready. Just finding little movements, finding the breath, just rolling onto the side. Just let it settle. And then you push yourself back to your seated position when you feel ready, and just ground through the hips. Bring the belly the breath into the low belly, and just allow time to come back upright again. And take a deep inhale, and the exhale brings the hands just to sit at the breastbone. Prayer position or palms down. Just take a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for health and well-being. Gratitude for time for yourself. Thank you for joining me this morning. Stay safe out there, everybody. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.